Hi friends, I'm Sister Leslie and welcome to the Providence podcast, offered to you by God's Space, which is a spiritual community. Thanks for being part of it. Often what we do in our God's Space small groups is to reflect on scripture readings. And when we do, it's not about what they mean, but about what they mean for each of us. So today that's kind of what I'll be doing. Just sharing some thoughts from my own reflections and prayer about the readings for this Sunday. I'm not a scripture scholar, just someone who likes to use scripture for my own prayer. And when I do, I notice that God speaks to me through it and is very present in my prayer. So I hope this is prayerful for you too. And know that you are always welcome at God's Space, in a small group or spiritual program or social event, when we start doing those again in person especially. So now let's get started by reading this passage from the Gospel of Mark. And we're reading from the lectionary for Mass for use in the Diocese of the United States, just in case you were wondering.
The Gospel reading from St. Mark. Jesus and his disciples left from there and began a journey through Galilee, but he did not wish anyone to know about it. He was teaching his disciples and telling them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after his death, the Son of Man will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to question him. They came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, he began to ask them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they remained silent. They had been discussing among themselves on the way who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all." Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me."
In this story, we find Jesus walking with his disciples, trying to communicate part of the essence of his message, that he will suffer and die, but then rise from the dead. But his disciples aren't even listening. Instead, they're arguing about which one of them is the greatest. How annoying. It's a wonder Jesus got anywhere with these guys. On the other hand, being entitled and argumentative and obtuse is not unique to the disciples. We can all be like that. Being annoying appears to be part of the human condition. In response to their argument, Jesus takes a small child into his arms and says, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." Now, why do you think he does this? I always picture a sweet, docile child, one so cute that everyone around says, "Aw, look at that little one. Of course we'd receive one such as this." However, when I stop to think about it, little people aren't perfect either, and they certainly have their annoying moments. Toddlers can throw tantrums when they don't get what they want. Spend any time with a 2 or 3-year-old, and you'll hear nothing but no. Children take each other's toys and tease other kids. They exclude and they bully. Tiny humans are basically as annoying as big ones. So why does Jesus use a child as an example? Is he saying, if only you were cuter, you'd be a lot easier to receive, like me? Well, I don't think one of Jesus's defining traits is his cuteness. So I looked to the other readings for this Sunday to see if they might offer any insight into what he means. In the reading from the Book of Wisdom, bad people are conspiring against what they call the Just One. Apparently, he has challenged them for their lawless ways, so they plot to kill him. And this reading isn't about Jesus in particular, of course, but it sure sounds familiar. It sounds a lot like what Jesus says in the gospel about his own suffering and death. Apparently, plotting against those who challenge the status quo isn't just about Jesus. Ambition of the wicked against the just is timeless. Likewise, the second reading from James critiques people for their ambition. Where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder in every foul practice. So both the first and second readings warn about ambition, and maybe the gospel does too. Ambition is one key difference between children and adults. Kids can be entitled and spoiled for sure. They can push other kids out of the way to get to the front of the line, kind of like what the disciples are doing in the gospel. However, children are not ambitious. Ambition has an element of self-sufficiency to it. And although children can be selfish, they can't be self-sufficient because they depend on others to care for them. Ambition tries to get ahead on one's own terms with one's own efforts, and it rejects any reliance on anyone else, other people, and even God. Ambition is problematic because it runs over other people. It assumes that we can stand on our own. Jesus, though, insists that we rely on each other and care for the most vulnerable. He says, if anyone wishes to be first, they shall be last of all and the servant of all. This is not just a clever saying. It's the heart of the gospel message. Jesus lived it so profoundly that his service to all led to his death, but also his resurrection. Aligning ourselves with Christ means that we serve other people, not that we step on them as we climb to the top. And service might mean being last and a little in suffering, but ultimately rising with Christ. So following Jesus doesn't make people less annoying or argumentative, entitled, and obtuse, no matter what age we are. However, it does call us to put other people before ourselves. It also calls us to recognize that we are not self-sufficient. We need each other, and we all suffer in some way. We have to accept the suffering that life gives us and allow those moments to move us toward Christ. And our faith assures us that God is with us, hurting through our heartbreaks and celebrating our joys. The Paschal mystery, suffering and death and resurrection, is not one of ambition, but one of vulnerability. There's no getting ahead in the Christian life. Each of us is a dependent child, open to life as it unfolds, and trusting that God is with us, taking care of us. For your own reflection, what did you make of this reading and Jesus taking a child into his arms to demonstrate a point? Have you ever dealt with ambition, your own or someone else's? What was that like? What effect did it have on you? How does it feel to recognize that you're dependent on God? And how do you find the balance in your life of dependence and agency? The balance between trusting God and taking action when you need to. Thanks for listening to the Providence Podcast. We hope you continue to stay connected through social media, Facebook and Instagram, and also our website, godspacecommunity.com. There you can also sign up for our newsletter so you get our communication every week. You can also join a small group or do a service project with us, or even a social event or dinner. Godspace is a ministry of the Sisters of Divine Providence of Kentucky. And you should check us out there too. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and at cdpkentucky.org. Have a great week and hope to see you soon.